Hey Buckaroos, welcome back to Musicom Academy. Today I'm going to start going into hiring, as a concept of hiring people and hiring good people. I can't really ever remember hiring someone that I regretted afterward. I've definitely hired people that I've regretted hiring, but usually it's because I was sort of pushed into it, for one reason or another. But for the ones where I really kind of wanted to make that choice myself, and do what I wanted, and sometimes odd choices, which I'll tell you about, they almost always worked out well. And that's kind of going to be the point of this lesson. I'm going to cut it in two pieces. I'm going to tell you three stories of hiring that literally occurred to me, and you'll hear the outcome. And then next week on the next episode, I'm going to go into really some hard specifics of hiring people, and then other things where probably no one would ever tell you. So for the stories, three kind of crazy fun stories. The first one I'm going to tell you about is I'm sitting in my office and I get a call from reception and they go, "Hey, there's someone here that wants to apply for the news director's job." And we had one opening, was the news director in morning news on an AC radio station. So I'm like, I don't have an appointment, but all right, I'll go out there. I go out into the lobby and there's a guy sitting there and he's in painter's overalls and he's covered in paint. He's got a t-shirt underneath that and his arms have got paint splotches on. He's got some paint in his hair. And I'm thinking, whoa, this can't be good. Boy, this is going to be kind of weird. So I take it back to the office and, he sits down on the couch. I go, so you want to do news? Yep. Do you have any experience of doing news? He goes, yeah, I do. I did news for many, many, many years. A couple Michigan cities. I did news in Detroit and I did news in New York City. And it's like, whoa, okay. So I don't understand. Are you painting your home or something? I don't understand why you came in with painter's garb on. And his story was this, and this is where it really starts to get interesting and where you have to make choices when you're hiring people, sometimes hard choices that make no sense. So he starts to tell me that he got blackballed in radio about 12 years ago and couldn't get back into radio, couldn't get into broadcasting. He was shut out from media, basically. And this is the only job he could have. So he came back home to Detroit and he was painting houses for the last 10, 12 years. And it's one of the few times he'd be in this area, so he thought he'd come in and just take a shot. And I'm like, wow, okay. Well, all right. I heard the word blackball in there. Do you mind telling me why you got blackballed? And I'm not like, man, this could be anything. And he tells me that he got passed over for the news director's job in New York City at the station that he was at, and he thought it was because he was black. And he sued and lost and then got fired and then got blackballed out of the business. And hence he was painting houses. I think at this point, a lot of people would start having really multiple thoughts going through their head. Wow, do I not deal with this person because maybe they're a troublemaker? But maybe they're going to be good. I don't know. He's here with a painter's outfit on. What do I think of that? What's running through his mind? But what ran through my mind was, because I tend to like the underdog people. I've always been that way my entire life for whatever reason. I don't know. So I said, do you have any air checks? I'm curious at this point. Like, I wonder what he would sound like. And he goes, no, I haven't had any air checks. I have no way of making air checks. I haven't been on the air for, again, 12 years. Ooh, okay. Well, do you think you could come back maybe on another day and maybe do a demo? He goes, no, this is the only job I have. I can't lose this job. And we're in this area just today. This is it. We don't normally come to this area. We're usually way downriver. Yeah, okay, well, and I'm grappling with what to say. And he goes, well, I'll do it right now. If it won't take me long. I can get it done and then get back because I'm on my lunch hour. Okay, so I took him down to the newsroom. I get in the newsroom and I hand him the typical, here's the format sheet. Here's how you get in the news. Here's what you say. Here's how you get out of the news. This is what you would say. There's the Detroit Free Press. There's the Detroit News. There's the AP Wire. I need about 4 minutes and then break and for spots and come back for the weather. Okay, yeah, no problem. I can do that. And then I took him across the hall to Art Morrison, who was the production director. And I said, Art, this guy's going to be coming in here to do a newscast. He doesn't have much time. Just stop whatever you're doing. Let him knock off his demo and then let me know when he's done. And, okay. And I put him back in the newsroom and I walk away. I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes later, like it was a really short period of time, he sticks his head in my door and he goes, "Thanks a lot. Thanks for, letting me do this. You have my number, give me a call if you like it." And he's gone. And I'm like, wow. So, what would you do? I'm super curious at this point. I run down the hallway pretty much. I go into Art and go, "Art, what was his demo like?" And Art goes like, "He was the best news person I think I've ever heard in my life." What? Say that again? Could you put the tape on and play it? He plays it back, and again, it was an amazing newscast. And I'm thinking, he just did this in like 15 minutes. He has no idea what we even do. He had to write everything from scratch. He's never been on the air for 12 years. And this is what he sounds like. He didn't flub a word. It was unbelievable. I called him back and hired him immediately. And he started working for us. He did morning news, and he was fantastic. Great newscast, funny guy, could write really good bits because we had some characters and he would write them. He was just an all-around good guy, and ultimately started to do TV also because he was pretty good looking and got back into the business, and his career did a 180. So let me tell you a story. He worked as one of the main news people during the day at WABC in New York, and he was also on coast to coast across the United States for years, the ABC radio network. I remember when I heard the demo, I can immediately, why does that voice sound familiar? Oh my God, I know who he is. I listened to him, before I got into radio. So the question would be, what would you have done in that instance? And I'm not making me out like some sort of amazing savior for the guy. His name was Bruce Brown, by the way. I'm just saying that it was such a really weird circumstance that what do you do? Do you do what you're supposed to do? Do you do what is probably seemingly logical, and someone over above you is not going to come down and go, "What'd you do that for? What's that? Hey, that's not what we do here. That's not protocol," or whatever, that kind of stuff. Or do you just go with your gut? Because my gut was telling me all the way along the way, there's something about this guy. I don't know. I get a good feeling about him. I think he got shafted. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but his life deserves another shot. Let me see what he sounds like. Oh my God, he's awesome. I don't care what he did. I don't care if he started World War III. It didn't matter to me. He was going to be amazing on the air. So story number one. Story number two, I'm in Toronto and we're looking for a morning show producer. And, again, I don't know why that seems to happen to me. Somebody shows up at reception. I go out, and again, not an appointment, but he knew somebody in the building. Somebody and said, "Hey, and another guy came in with this particular person. And I said, "Hi, nice to meet you. Da-da-da. Yeah, I'd like, morning show producer's job. I'd like to apply for it." "Okay, well, tell me about yourself." So this guy had never done radio before, but he was a producer on a sports cable network, one of the big ones. So I thought, all right, well, he's got producing experience. A lot of the job, it's just a different medium. All right. So he hands me, this booklet, the typical booklet with the resume and all that stuff. And I'm trying to talk to him as I'm sort of reading the thing. He's talking to me, and I'm kind of reading, and I'm turning the pages, and then, it's something, I talk back and forth because I didn't have time to read it beforehand. I look and, okay, there's this diploma, and I keep going, and I'm talking a little bit more, and he's got this smirk on his face. And for some reason, I picked up his resume thing again because I wanted to ask him a couple of questions because I was running out of questions at this point because I was hit cold with him. And I go through and I look at his diploma one more time, and it's from Harvard. And I go, "You went to Harvard?" And he's just looking at me, but he's got a weird look on his face. And I look down again at the diploma because it's a copy of a diploma. It's not the actual diploma. And he's taken whiteout over somebody's name and splattered it out and just kind of, with a magic marker, wrote his name in there. So I'm looking at a Harvard diploma with whiteout over somebody, splattered out with a magic marker with his name. And, it kind of had a sort of funny morning show, so same deal. I hired him right then and there because I thought this is on so many levels. This guy had enough guts to actually do that. He also had, producing experience, clearly had a sense of humor. And even when I was talking to him, it seemed like a sense of humor, seemed like a good guy. Person number 3 was someone that I never met. As a matter of fact, I still haven't met them to this day. And this was 30 some years ago, okay? I talked to him on the phone. I, sent an email but mainly faxes to him, given, the time frame back then. And so we had a, constantly running dialogue, but I never met the guy, which has been a huge regret because I wish I would have met him, and you'll see why, when I get to the end of this story. A really good friend of mine who was working in Orlando doing mornings, Bill Gable, I was talking to Billy because I've talked to him every once in a while because, he's a super close friend. And I said, hey, Billy, I'm looking for somebody who can do characters. Anybody can do characters? And he goes, yeah, there's a kid down here that I think he does really great characters, but he's really just a kid. Okay, so Billy sends me his phone number and I give him a call. And I talk to the kid, he sends me a couple, demo of what he's done, on tape. And it's like, wow, he's really pretty good. So I hire the kid. I pay him $200 a month. Probably he did for us maybe 10, 12, 15 characters. And they were really, really good. And I would write pretty much the brunt of, the text of what he's doing, and he would leave holes. So I would write his part, I would write what we were going to say, and he would just leave breaks, and then we would actually do it talking to the tape that he would send up, reel-to-reel tape. He'd do his part. We would insert ourselves into that, record it, add some laughs and other things just to make it seem like it was really live in the studio, and then we would play them back. So that's how I worked with it. I believe that was the very first job in media that kid ever had. You know that kid. You've seen that kid probably hundreds of times. This is that kid.
Good evening, I'm Donald Trump. Of course, most of you know who I am already because I'm rich and I'm handsome.
Instead, I will take those remarks and put them away in a tiny lockbox.
You're fired.
Sean Connery. We meet again, you logger-headed, tickle-brained pumpion. There once was a man named Trebek who had the world's tiniest...
Enough! Daryl Hammond. Daryl Hammond became the voice of Don Pardo when Don Pardo died on Saturday Night Live, the one that opens up the show. And he, I believe, was the longest running person on Saturday Night Live ever. So 3 stories that will make sense to you why I told them to you when we do the second half of this lesson about how I believe you should hire people, what you should go through, and what's really, really important. I'll just tell you right now, a lot of it has nothing to do with what an HR department or division or whatever tells you is the right way to go. I think that probably holds up pretty heavily in other jobs, but when you want somebody to entertain and be the way the radio business is, which is not a normal business, all of that goes out the window. So I'll give you my recommendations of how to hire creative people. If you liked the lesson, hit the like button, make sure you subscribe. We're at 420 subscribers, 420 PDs, which is pretty nice. And also do the notification button, and that tells you when there's a new lesson, like the next upcoming one, the second half of this hiring lesson. Until the next time, see ya.